Good morning, and thank you for joining me today for The Way to a Wonderful Life. I am Reverend Dr. Henry Lee Bates, coming to you live this morning from Palm Springs, California, teaching from the philosophy of the Mastermind Jesus and the wisdom of the ancients found in the evolutionary science of mind. This program is not pre-recorded, nor is it edited. It is live. For more information about this ministry, please visit www.revbates.tv or www.revbatesontheradio.org. You can also find me on youtube.com by going to youtube.com and putting in the search box The Way to a Wonderful Life channel. That's The Way to a Wonderful Life channel, where you'll find over 100 of my radio broadcasts that you can listen to 24/7 in both English and Spanish. You can also go to MSN, Yahoo, Bing, and Google and put in the search box Reverend Henry Bates, that's B-A-T-E-S, and you'll find everything you want to find out about this ministry. Now, this is a healing and teaching ministry where we go beyond religion and we focus on those simple yet profound spiritual principles given to us by the Mastermind Jesus so that we can believe in our prayer and the answer to it, for we believe and we know that God responds to us by corresponding to our faith and our belief that with God, all good things are possible. With God, all good things are possible. Now, you can send me your prayer requests, your questions, your comments about this program, or you can just send me a note and let me know what's going on with you, and I will be very, very privileged to pray with you, for you. And you can send those to me from revbates.tv or from the website revbatesontheradio.org, or you can mail those to Rev Henry Bates, that's B-A-T-E-S, P.O. Box 1173, that's P.O. Box 1173, Palm Springs, California, 92263. And if you feel it in your heart to include a tithe, a faith offering, or donation, I will greatly, deeply appreciate that as well in support of this radio ministry. Once again, you can write to me, Reverend Henry Bates, that's B-A-T-E-S, P.O. Box 1173, Palm Springs, California, 92263. And you can also leave me a telephone message in the Los Angeles area at 818-476-0088 or in Palm Springs at 760-778-5677. Once again, this is The Way to a Wonderful Life, coming to you live this morning from Palm Springs, California. I am Reverend Dr. Henry Lee Bates. This program is not pre-recorded, nor is it edited. It is live. And today we're going to go first to our prayer affirmation, where we realize and we know and we affirm that we are living in the Spirit of God, that in Him we live and move and have our being. We understand from the Scriptures, and we believe this, we realize this in our life, and we look to Jesus to tell us what this Him is. And Jesus said, the Father is a Spirit. The Father is a Spirit, and we must worship Him in spirit and in truth. We must worship Him in spirit and in truth. And so let's find the word, the phrase, or the statement in this prayer affirmation today that will stir up the Spirit within us so that we can worship Him in spirit and in truth. So just say with me this morning, the living Spirit is within me. Let's say that to ourselves. The living Spirit is within me. The living Spirit within me is my life, my health, my strength, and my vitality. It is the Christ within me which strengthens me. This living Spirit within me is my supply. It prospers all my affairs and is limitless in supplying my good. I draw on the inexhaustible substance of Spirit which knows no limit. Abundance is my birthright, and I claim it now. The living Spirit within me is my intelligence. It guides and directs me in all my ways, ensuring that my every good desire is already complete. I acknowledge this as an accomplished fact now, right now. So I go forth in confidence today and every day, and with the assurance and positive conviction that the living Spirit of God is within me, and all is good in my world, and so it is, amen, and so it is, amen. So once again, this is The Way to a Wonderful Life, coming to you live from Palm Springs, California. And our Way to a Wonderful Life message for today is titled, Faith Grows. Faith grows. And we're going to go to some wonderful words from the great James Dillett Freeman, who was a great unity teacher, author, minister, and also in charge of the prayer division of unity, the silent unity for many, many years. And this is from his book, Be. And he writes, and the faith that grows out of questioning is stronger than the faith born of blind acceptance. And the faith that grows out of questioning is stronger than the faith born of blind acceptance. It can withstand the shocks of circumstance. It can withstand the shocks of circumstance. Only he who questions the universe and questions it in utter honesty can grow in his comprehension of the truth. That's from the great James Dillett Freeman. Now, the thing that drove me from traditional religion was the negative attitude I encountered when I questioned what was being taught. Yet Jesus was always questioning the religious leaders and the religious dogma of his time, always questioning it. We can find in the book of Luke 6 through 10, one Sabbath, Jesus was going through the grain fields, and his disciples began to pick some heads of grain, rub them in their hands, and eat the kernels. Some of the Pharisees asked, why are you doing what is unlawful on the Sabbath? And Jesus answered them, have you never read what David did when he and his companions were hungry? He entered the house of God, and taking the consecrated bread, he ate what is lawful only for priests to eat, and he also gave some to his companions. Then Jesus said to them that the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath. The Son of Man, that's the Son of God. Son in the Aramaic language of Jesus meant a part of God, a part of God's expression as man, as each and every one of us, man, woman, child. So we know that we're a part of God, and Jesus is saying that we have, just as we read in the book of Genesis, dominion and authority over those things that concern us. Dominion and authority. God has given us dominion and authority over those things that concern us. So we know that not only do we read in the book of Genesis that we are created in the image likeness of God, and as Jesus said, the Father is a spirit, so we know that we are created in the image likeness of spirit, but God has also given us dominion and authority, which means we choose how we are to experience this thing called life. And God has given us that birthright, that right and that rightful inheritance to do just that. On another Sabbath, Jesus went into the synagogue and was teaching, and a man was there whose right hand was shriveled. The Pharisees and the teachers of the law were looking for a reason to accuse Jesus. So they watched him closely to see if he would heal on the Sabbath. But Jesus knew what they were thinking and said to the man with the shriveled hand, get up and stand in front of everyone. So the man got up and stood there. Then Jesus said to them, I asked you, which is lawful on the Sabbath, to do good or to do evil, to save life or to destroy it? He looked around at them all and said to the man, stretch out your hand. The man did so, and his hand was completely restored. And so we know that Jesus was calling the people out on their religious dogma about the Sabbath and their religious dogma about healing and about the love and compassion of God. We must realize that God is supreme in its lovingness, forgivingness, and givingness. And so we must be an expression of that Spirit, which is God, and let that Spirit move through our mind, our heart, and our soul as lovingness, forgivingness, and givingness, no matter what day it may be. So we realize all these things are Jesus questioning the religious dogma and the religious leaders, questioning the traditional thought about our relationship with God. And so we know, just as James Dillett Freeman tells us, that the faith that grows out of questioning is stronger than the faith born of blind acceptance. The faith born of blind acceptance. There's so many people out there in this world today that will believe things, but they don't know it's the truth. Because the only truth we will ever know, the only truth we will ever know about our experience about our relationship to God is our experience of God in our life, our experience of God in our life. And so we must know and we must believe and take into our mind that greater idea. And let's go to one more instance where Jesus is talking about the law and how the law of man contradicts the law of God. And in this example, in Matthew 28 through 33, they're talking about marriage, because they say that if a woman has been married 7 times to men on this planet Earth, in this experience of life, whose life will she be in the resurrection? In other words, on the other side. And Jesus answered them, "You were wrong because you know neither the Scriptures nor the power of God." You know neither the Scriptures nor the power of God. But the important words that we want to take from this lesson from Jesus is, you are wrong. He was willing to stand up and speak up and say, you are wrong. He says, for in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like angels in heaven. And he's talking about spirits. And as for the resurrection of the dead, have you not read what was said to you by God? I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. And when the crowd heard this, they were astonished at his teaching. In other words, there is no God of the dead, and we will never be dead, because we will move into every expression of life from the here to the hereafter with the same spirit, with the same animating personality that we develop in this life here on earth. So Jesus is saying, you are wrong. And how many of us are willing to speak to people and say, you are wrong? How many of us are willing to say, you can't hang on to that old cultural religious stuff that was given to us by people who believed that the earth was flat, that God didn't stop speaking, God didn't stop revealing, God didn't stop its intelligence from evolving through the mind and the heart and the soul of man. So we can't stop at that point in time where people thought the earth was flat and start living our lives according to their perceptions and their assumptions about life. But the most important thing we want to take from Jesus in these examples of questioning is faith. He had the faith to know and to believe that he could say, you are wrong. He had the faith to believe and to know that he could heal on the Sabbath. He had the faith and the belief to know that God's givingness, lovingness, and forgivingness allowed us to eat on whatever day it was, that the Sabbath was not for man, the Sabbath was for God to contemplate, for God to think through what God had created. And sometimes I'm sure he wonders, or she wonders, he wonders, it wonders, whatever God is, the Spirit. We know the Spirit, just like the air that we breathe, has a masculine energy, a feminine energy, most of all, a vital energy. So sometimes I'm sure this energy and its moments of contemplation is thinking, why did I create man with such a free will? But we do have that free will. So we all have all heard the words, if you don't use it, you lose it. And this is a very important statement when it comes to faith. Jesus had the faith to speak up, to stand up. So we want to know that in the ancient scriptures we are told to pray without ceasing, and in doing so we become conscious of what we are thinking and the patterns of our thoughts. Are we believing false ideas? Are we believing a false truth, a half-truth? Are we believing something that is no longer applicable to the evolutionary path of the Spirit through our mind, our heart, and our soul here in 2013? Knowing that our thoughts have formative power, especially those thoughts about things that we dwell on mentally, it is incumbent upon us to consistently recognize that our thoughts are shaping our experiences, and so we must question what we think and believe in order to avoid consequences that we don't want to experience. I know that so very often I repeat this statement of faith and the teachings of the Mastermind Jesus, but it is absolutely necessary that we do not lose sight of it. For most certainly I tell you, he said, if you have faith as a grain of mustard seed, you will tell this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. If you have faith, as a grain of mustard seed. And so we know that in these simple words, we can know that all is possible when our faith is in tune with the infinite good. When our faith is in tune with the infinite good. Let's remember here that Jesus was using an amazing, genius illustration when he used the size of a mustard seed illustration to illustrate our faith. In other words, he was telling us that we have varying measures of faith as applied to various things. This is how we may pray successfully for money, but our prayers miss the mark for loving companionship. Another example may be a man who has faith that he can rob a bank, but doesn't have the same measure of faith to escape being arrested. We have faith that night follows day, but doesn't day also follow night? Our faith to be powerful must contain a powerful conviction. And conviction comes from convincing ourselves that we have the faith to do the thing that we set out to do, and that means that we have formulated in our mind, we have dwelled on, calculated, concluded, that we have contemplated, that we have arrived at the truth about ourselves. So let's look at that faith as a grain of mustard seed illustration that the mastermind Jesus gave us again, and we can realize one more time that a mustard seed is infinitesimally small. The mustard tree originates from Persia. The seed is so small that if you put it in the palm of your hand, if you just slightly breathe on it, it will fall away, and if you wear glasses, you won't even see it at all if you take your glasses off. The tree grows to about 20 feet high and has an irregular shape. It is nearly as wide as it is tall. In other words, it was a perfect symbol of the way in which our faith can grow tremendously and give us the power to experience big things, great success, tremendous prosperity, limitless creativity, and every good desire of our heart. Every good desire of our heart. So we must realize, for most certainly I tell you, Jesus said, if you have faith as a grain of mustard seed, you will tell this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible to you. In other words, you will tell that mountain of debt, you will tell that mountain of pills that you have in your medicine cabinet to keep you healthy, you will tell that mountain of oppression against you, the negative things against you, they can move away because you're no longer being obstructed by them. You're no longer seeing a power in them. You're no longer being afraid of them. You are no longer allowing them to stop you, block you, or obstruct you from doing, being, and having that wonderful, beautiful, good desire that God has placed in your heart, put into your mind, brought to your awareness so that you can be it and you can do it and you can have it. So many times we get so caught up in all the stuff that we forget that life is intelligence. Life is intelligence. There's an intelligent design to this universe in which we live. Jesus understood that God not only is love and power and peace and happiness and harmony and beauty and creative, but God is also infinitely individualized within each and every one of us, and that God is intelligence. And that's why Jesus surpassed all the other mystics, all the other teachers of the Scriptures in bringing us into that closer relationship to God, that closer understanding and realization that we are part of God. I and the Father are one, he said, and that I is within you and me, that I, that infinite I, that individualized expression of the image, likeness of God, that ability to take dominion and authority over those things that concern us, that I is within each and every one of us. So there is no one who is helpless and hopeless. There is no one who is without the ability, the capacity to have the faith to do those things that come to their awareness, to do those things that come to their heart as a desire to do it, to be it, or to have it, except those people who just dismiss God in their mind. God is always present, but God doesn't come knocking on our door. We must knock on the door of heaven. We must knock on the door of the Spirit. We must knock on our consciousness to bring in that power, that presence, and that Spirit, and that intelligence of God. So does this mean that our faith can only be used for what the world thinks is good? Of course not. No, it doesn't. To be so would be to attribute limitation to faith, and that would be a false idea. Faith, like electricity, can be used for the good, or it can be used to negate the good, even destroy what we might call good. We know that we can use electricity to light the lamps in our home, but we can also use electricity to burn down our home. So even destroy that which we might call good. We can do it. We can do that. You might ask, why is this possible? And that would be a good question. Since faith is a universal law, it works for everyone and everything in the same precise way. It's only the mind of man, and I use that word generically because that includes men, women, and children, has gone into this foolishness of judging the things of the world other than that just things are what they are, that just what it is what it is. Now what it is what it is. Jesus said, for he makes his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and on the unjust. That's what he's telling us, so get that in your mind. It's not about good or bad. It's not about what the world thinks. It's not about even what religion thinks. It's about what is the truth that you have realized in your life thus far. And are you willing to go beyond that, just as Jesus did? Stand up to those who call you out when you contemplate and realize that some of the things that you believe to be true are not true at all, that intelligence that created all that we see, including you and me, that intelligence is always intelligent. It doesn't do anything unintelligently. There is no magic in God. There is only God. So whenever you find that, are you willing to say, as Jesus said, those three big words, powerful words, you are wrong, you are wrong, sorry, you are wrong, and don't argue with the truth. The truth needs no argument. Let's look at some words here from the great James Dillett Freeman's book, Be, one more time, so we can activate, cultivate, foster, and increase that capacity within us to have that faith that can move those mountains, those obstructions from blocking us from the awareness, the realization of our good. You can learn to have faith, he writes. Faith is not an abstraction. It is an attitude towards life, a feeling about life. It does not come out of signs or miracles or any outward happenings so much as out of inward growth. That's so important for us. It does not come out of signs or miracles or any outward happenings so much as out of inward growth. If you cannot believe in much, then believe in the little that you can. Start where you are and grow. What seed can have a foreknowledge of the tree it will become? What thorny bush can prophesy the rose? What caterpillar can tell of the butterfly? Faith grows. Faith grows. It's up to us to realize that faith grows. It's up to us to know that faith grows. It's up to us to believe that faith grows. It's up to us to acknowledge within ourselves that we have the faith already, that we already have it. When the disciples came to Jesus and they said that they couldn't do what he had instructed them to do because they lacked the faith, he said, "O ye of little faith, O ye of little faith, why are you so afraid? Why are you so afraid of this world that has given you life? Why are you so afraid of this intelligence, this spirit, and this power that works through you? Why are you so afraid to use it? Why are you so afraid to stand up, speak up, and realize that you do have the dominion and the authority to do those things that come to you to do? Why are you so afraid to live life to its fullest? Why are you so afraid of prosperity and health? Why are you so afraid of being a part of life in a greater way? Why are you so afraid? Why are you so afraid of your large life instead of and falling into the fear of living a small life because you don't want to be out there so that people can examine you. You don't want to be out there so people can judge you. You don't want to be out there because the opinions of the world may hurt your feelings. Stop being afraid. Stop the self-pity. Start the self-realization that you are in the image, the likeness of God, that you are. You are the image, likeness of the supreme power, intelligence, spirit that that reigns supreme in the world in which we live, that there is no greater God in the hereafter than there is here. There is no greater life in the hereafter than there is here. There is only one life. That life is God, and that life is living in you and me. That life is breathing into us. That life is seeing through our eyes. That life is hearing through our ears. That life is speaking through our lips. But to what level, what capacity, what measure of faith do you allow it to see through you? What measure of faith do you allow it to hear through you? What measure of faith do you allow it to speak through you? Are you willing to let your word become the law of your life? Are you willing to let your word make manifest those good desires of your heart? Are you willing to let your word be the thing that qualifies you and brings you into that God-filled reality, that God-filled vitality that makes life a blessing, makes life a glorification of all that God is, a glorification of all the goodness and the love and the forgivingness and the lovingness that God is? Are you willing to be that today? Are you willing to be it for just a minute today? Are you willing to be it for 5 minutes today? Are you willing to be it for an hour today? Or are you willing to be it the whole day and just go all the way out and let God be God in you in the most magnificent, wonderful way today? Well, let yourself imagine. Let yourself contemplate. Let yourself mentally dwell on yourself being this image likeness of God, this image likeness of success, this image likeness of health, this image likeness of loving and being loved, this image likeness of having all things necessary to feel the glory of God within you, to let that light so shine, that light of the infinite, that light of the Spirit, that light of the intelligence, and that light of the power of God shine through you today. To shine through you today and lift you up and lift all those things around you into that realm of goodness and opulence and prosperity and joy and health. And let yourself say it. Let yourself believe it. Let yourself know it. That you can say it with a firm conviction. You can say it with assurance. Today and every day, I rejoice and give thanks for the best of times and the best of everything. Right now, right where I am. And so it is. Amen. Once again, I want to thank you for being with me today. It's been my great pleasure to have you, and I hope you join me for my next broadcast right here on KTYM 1460 Radio in Los Angeles and at KTYM.com worldwide. Be sure and visit www.revbates.tv or revbatesontheradio.org, where you can send me your prayer requests, your questions, your comments about this program, and you can also send a tithe, a donation, or a faith offering in support of this radio ministry, and you can also send those to Reverend Henry Bates, that's B-A-T-E-S, P.O. Box 1173, that's P.O. Box 1173, Palm Springs, California, 92263. This has been The Way to a Wonderful Life. You can find me on YouTube.com by going to YouTube.com and putting in the search box The Way to a Wonderful Life channel. That's The Way to a Wonderful Life channel, where you'll find over 100 of my radio broadcasts that you can listen to 24/7 in both English and Spanish. You can also go to MSN, Yahoo, Bing, and Google and put in the search box Reverend Henry Bates, that's B-A-T-E-S, and you'll find everything you want to find out about this ministry. Once again, please feel free to send me your prayer requests, your questions, your comments about this program. And remember, let's go back to those words before we close this program today. Let's take this into our mind. Let's believe it. Let's receive it as a truth. And the faith that grows out of questioning is stronger than the faith born of blind acceptance. The faith that grows out of questioning is stronger than the faith born of blind acceptance. It can withstand the shocks of circumstance. Only he who questions the universe and questions it in utter honesty can grow in his comprehension of the truth. That's from the great James Dillett Freeman from his book, B. Jesus was a mastermind. He said, "You of little faith, why are you so afraid? Facts change, the truth does not. Keep faith with the truth. Keep faith with life. Keep faith with the Spirit of God within you, around you, above you, below you, flowing through you, pressing against you. Let God be the dominant power, the dominant spirit, the dominant intelligence in your life today, and you will find amazing and wonderful things. You will say, I am living today, and I'm going to live tomorrow. I'm going to live next week, next month, next year, for the next decade, the next century. I'm going to live the way to a wonderful life. I'm going to live the way to a wonderful life. That's the way of life that the mastermind Jesus said is ours to live. He said, you are the light of the world. He said, I am the light of the world, and then he went that one step further that astonished all who heard his words when he said, you too are the light of the world, and let your light so shine